Okay, lovely people. So let's go through our answers. So, what definition does the writer give for a standard dialect? Brilliant. It's simply one local variety of a language which has become most publicly accepted. Now, it does extend it to talk about social institutions such as the media, the law, and government. Okay, but it's this idea of most publicly accepted. Now, what I love about this writer is that this writer is or shares the opinion and perspective of descriptivists, looking to describe language change without any judgment, because she does say that standard is simply one local variety. So it's not prestigious, it's not privileged, it doesn't have more power. So she is really engaging with those false ideas about a standard being privileged and powerful. Brilliant. Okay, so it says here then, in the final sentence, which adjective shows that the intention of the writer is to support accents? Now, the clue there is adjective. So we are looking for words that are being used to modify. Okay, now in this instance, the adjective is being used in the predicative position. It is coming after the pronoun it. So it is unreasonable. Okay, so unreasonable is being used there as an adjective. Okay, to suggest that she doesn't think it's fair to suppose most Britons are speaking their own language incorrectly. So she thinks it's unfair, it's unreasonable to say that RP, spoken by only 3% of the population, is the standard. So this writer is advocating for the idea that there isn't a correct way to speak. She is advocating the idea that there is variety and that one variety is in no way better or worse than another. But she is recognizing that there is a bigger issue than her opinion, and that's what this article is going to go on to look at. So that last little bit, in countries where English is the main spoken language, the standard is the variety spoken by most people. But in England, it is the opposite. The standard is, so how could you complete that paraphrase? So we could say the standard is spoken by less than 3%. The standard is spoken by the minority, and therefore it creates an unreasonable expectation that the majority of people are using their own language incorrectly. Okay, so we've got that section looked at. Now we're just going to look at what comes next in this article. Okay, guys, so again, I'm going to read you through this and give you a bit of chance to do some of the activities, and then we'll share our responses. So linguist and author Rosine Lippi-Green refers to this as the standard language ideology, where many people believe the dialect with the highest social prestige is the only correct and valid form of language. In fact, all dialects and accents are linguistically valid. So we've got this lovely development of this article. She's now introducing the opinions of other credible theorists. Now, this is a really good checkpoint for us because we've got to remember that we might be asked in this unit of learning, but we would definitely be asked in the exam to write as journalists, to write articles and opinion pieces in response to what we've read. So this is a nice reminder of how we can introduce linguists and specialists in the ideas of other people we've studied. So she says, linguist and author Rosina Lippi-Green, she's introducing her chosen theorist, her chosen idea to support what she's saying. We could use this model really easily if we were looking to practice writing paragraphs about Labov, Giles, Bernstein, and we can use that model. So linguist and well-known professor William Labov refers to the idea of covert and overt prestige. So there are things in this article that we can also use to inform our own writing choices when we look at structuring articles ourselves. Okay, going off the point, sorry, stay focused, Miss Deutsch. Paragraph 2 on this page. Some professionals whose regional accents are deemed non-standard by their employers, like these trainee teachers from the north of England, can find themselves under pressure to tone down their native accents to improve their job and progression prospects. There are some workplaces, such as call centres, that even offer accent training programs for their staff. Some promote regional accents that are widely seen as more trustworthy, calming or pleasant, such as Scottish English or Southern American. Today, it is not as simple as moving your speech patterns up the social ladder to boost your career prospects. Okay, so what I love about this little section that we're going to just draw upon is it shows us how to integrate a theorist if we are writing our own articles. It also uses real world examples to illustrate the points and ideas that this writer wants us to think about. We've done that in previous lessons. We've talked about that peg. How do we create a link between our concepts and ideas in the real world? And she does that really well here. We've got pegs running through. So, guys, I'm just going to read through the tasks and then allow you to pause and have a go, and then we'll see and share our answers. So it says here in the green, so a language focus, which two nouns are used to introduce Lippy Green? Did these strengthen or weaken her opinion? Okay, so you're going to look at that. Now, blue is an understanding, a checking in of what, okay? So the standard language ideology is her term. But what does it mean? So based on that paragraph, can you create a definition, an explanation of what standard language ideology means? Okay, now it says over here, look at the final sentence of the first paragraph. Can you spot 3 ways in this one sentence that the writer presents her opinion as fact? So can you spot 3 different linguistic choices that she's making to present her opinion as a fact, to give it real kind of like weight and credibility? Think about the sentence type and word classes to help you do that one. And then finally, the grey, so this can be something we can borrow that we can take across to other learning or reinforce what's gone before. So which 2 places and contexts are given as examples of places where people have been put under pressure to change the way they speak? Which of our theorists also looked at people at work? So guys, press pause. Just take as long as you need. I'm here on the other end of the YouTube video when you're ready to go through your answers. Okay, lovely. I hope you found them. So which 2 nouns are used to introduce Lippy Green? There they are, linguist, author. Now, we've seen this in bylines. We've seen this in the other articles. We've got this in our own knowledge of theorists, ways to present them as being credible. And here we've got the lead, the 2 nouns to introduce them by name. Okay, so as soon as we know Rosina Lippy Green is a linguist and an author, is that strengthening or weakening what she's about to say? Does it make her opinion more trustworthy, more credible, or does it disinterest us? Do we lose faith in her opinion? Now, the quick answer is these noun choices are being used to strengthen her opinion. We're going to trust her because she's a linguist. This is her profession. We're going to trust her because she's an author. So she's been published. Other people agree with what she's saying. Okay. Now, she creates her own term. Now, this is what we've seen our theorists doing. So Laboff creates the concept of covert, overt prestige. Giles gives us convergence, divergence, accommodation theory. Bernstein talks about the elaborate and restricted code. So this is the territory our linguists often go into, that based on their studies, they create concepts, or at least the language to explain concepts and ideas. Okay, so she talks about the standard language ideology. So what does that mean? Okay, so we just actually look at the paragraph. We then go on to rename that, okay, in the next bit, where many people believe the dialect with the highest social prestige is the only correct and valid form of language. So the standard language ideology, so the ideology, the belief that the only correct and valid form of language is the one with the highest social prestige. So actually that's a lovely way. I could have done that in yellow to link us back. How are social factors determining a person's use of language? So the standard language ideology would say that the social factor determining a person's use of language is this idea of social prestige. Okay? And it's going to direct people to use a correct and valid form of language that has the highest value in society, the highest prestige. Brilliant. Okay, now looking at the final sentence of the paragraph, here we go. Today, it is not as simple as moving your speech patterns up the social ladder to boost. Oh, guys, I've made a mistake. Sorry, look, it says the final sentence of the first paragraph. Sorry, guys, I was looking at the final sentence of the last paragraph. So, in fact, all dialects and accents are linguistically valid. Okay, so what 3 features did you spot? Okay, now for me, if we're looking at sentence type, we've got here a simple declarative statement. Sometimes we've got to get at this idea that simple sentences are about simple ideas, okay? Sometimes simple sentences are about an emphatic moment, a declarative, this is my statement, this is my key idea. And she's saying here, all dialects and accents are linguistically valid. Okay, so we've got the simple declarative. We've got the use of factive language, so presenting her idea as fact. So literally the beginning, that kind of prepositional phrase, in fact. Okay, so she's using that prepositional phrase to say what's coming next cannot be disputed. Okay, she's also then got this determiner all. So she's saying all dialects and accents, not some, not many, all. So it's very factive, definite language. So we could talk about the use of the determinant all, that kind of preposition or opening phrase, in fact. We can talk about the use of the simple declarative. So that is 3. We could also just look at the use of the present tense verb to be, are linguistically valid. Okay, so again, that very factive language. So 3 ways in which she's presenting her ideas as facts. So our writer really believes that all dialects and accents are valid. And that repetition of that adjective valid, which means they have value, they are all equal. Okay, now it says here then which 2 places and contexts are given as examples where people have been put under pressure to change the way they speak. So guys, we've got the reference to the trainee teachers. We've seen that before. Remember, we've looked at an article with Alexander Baratta in class, and that his research concerned him about this worrying trend of trainee teachers being told or advised, to change the way they speak if they wanted to get employed. So again, this external, extrinsic pressure put on people to change the way they speak. And the threat that hangs over them is, if you don't, you might not get the job. Okay? The other place it talks about, now this is new for us, is call centres, okay, where they're offered accent training programs for their staff. Okay, now we could argue that people choose to be employed in these sectors, in these industries, and if it's really transparent that this is one of the standards we want, they then get to make the intrinsic choice. Well, actually, I really want the job so I can change the way I speak. I really want the job so I'll go on the accent training program. But there is a danger that if we make it all about how people speak, we're reinforcing actually a negative stereotype. Okay, we're reinforcing a dangerous idea that we're going to judge you not on what you say or the credentials or your education or your background or your qualification. We're going to judge you on how you sound when you speak. Now, that's really dangerous, isn't it? Okay, so last but not least, and then this is us done for today, and we'll look at the rest of the article tomorrow. Which of our theorists from last week looked at people at work? Now, there's more than one answer. So, who did you get? Brilliant if you got Laboff, absolutely. He was in New York looking at the 4 department studies. But interestingly, you might remember that Milroy also weren't, although she was a friend of a friend within the community, she was also looking at people at work. And she noticed that interesting anomaly where the group of girls that began to work in the factory and began to socialize with each other, that their accents converged. They all began to sound alike as a result of working and socializing together. Okay, so we could have gone for Milroy and Laboff there. Right, brilliant people. We're going to pause there. I hope, as I said, we've slowed this process of reading down. Any questions you got wrong, have a look back. If you also want to practice that revision of language labeling, this is a really nice article. Pick a sentence, label it, paraphrase it, think about the representation it's given. The other way you could reflect and extend your learning is any of the notes we've made so far, practice turning it into a paragraph. Give yourself 5 minutes to turn those note ideas into sentences that could sit within an analytical paragraph. Okay, although we will be doing that together at the end of this unit, I just thought that might give you something if you wanted to extend or revise or strengthen your own knowledge. Guys, have a lovely rest of your day. See you tomorrow.